We interrupt your regularly scheduled program for this special report.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. This past week, the Generation X was informed that TSN, Star TV, Sky Sports, and USA Network is drawing the line on standards and practices as it relates to WWF programming and to Generation X. In the future, we need to be careful of what we do and what we don't do. Again, DX gets in trouble every time we do something gratuitously. Therefore, the following is the standard and practices that DX promises to adhere to.
From the hours of 9 to 10 p.m., we will only use the words ass, damn, and hell. We will, however, never use the words or any other sexual or racial slurs. From the 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. hour, we will only use the words ass, damn, hell, and we will, however, never use the words or any other racial or sexual slurs. Now, as it pertains to video, we promise there will be less references.
Oh,
hey, watch your mouth.
me.
Damn it. We will have less references to our enormous genitalia.
And on a final note, even though many of you believe that currently the favorite pastime in the oral office is swallow the leader, I did not. I repeat, I did not sleep with that young intern. As a matter of fact, I was up all night.
If your friends are nerdy and you are nerdy too, I want to talk to you. Friends talking nerdy.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Friends Talking Nerdy. This is Tim Gilesma. With me, next to me we have
Sterling Wilson.
And thanks to the wonderful little tool called Skype, we have a special guest on the line. Tell everybody who you are.
Valerie Coker.
Yeah, Valerie's someone I've known for a while now. We met when we worked at Best Buy. Best Buy was, I'm glad I don't work there anymore, but they had this wonderful little tool called Water Cooler. It was an inter-store message board that they had, and I met a lot of cool people, Valerie being one of them. I know a guy up in Washington who's a serial killer wannabe by the name of Eric. A joke, but he met him. My friend Lisa down in California, another friend from Texas, Stephanie, met her there as well. So the reason we have Valerie on with us right now in this episode is that we wanted to talk about some of what happened at San Diego Comic-Con this year, and then we'll talk about other topics as well. But first, before we do anything, as per our tradition, since this is our Season 2 premiere episode of the longest-running episodic podcast, based out of the Northeast side of Portland. Tell everybody your nerd origin story, Valerie.
So it's horror comics, not regular comics. It's not that old, but Hack Slash from, I want to say 2007 is probably where I started, and just gone into other horror comics like Dog Witch and Hellraiser. I can't think of any more right now.
I love Hellraiser.
All right, so with that, how was Comic-Con this year?
Crowded and hot.
Imagine that in San Diego. What are some of the panels you went to?
I only got to do like 2, really. One was for Predator, and one was for Midnight Texas.
Nice. What happened there?
Predator was pretty awesome. It was hilarious to see a room full of probably about 2,000 children and them dropping F-bombs like crazy. But it was cool to see the cast talk about it and see all the clips and stuff from it. Looks like it's actually going to be a really good movie.
Nice. Was Shane Black there?
Yes, he was.
Nice, Lucky. What about the other one, Midnight Texas? I'm not familiar with that.
It's based on a book that's by the lady who does True Blood. It's kind of campy like that. I actually like Midnight Texas better than True Blood. I couldn't get into that. The fangs were placed really weird, and it drove me nuts, the accents. But Midnight Texas obviously takes place in Texas, in this little town where there's ghosts and all kinds of stuff.
Nice.
So, Valerie, it sounds like you've been to multiple San Diego Comic-Cons?
Yes.
What was your initial draw to San Diego Comic-Con?
I'm not going to lie, it was Monster High. Doll series. Yeah.
Okay.
They usually have an exclusive every year that's really hard to get. They didn't have one this year, though.
I am a huge fan of Wizard World Comic-Con. And
yes.
One of the biggest collectibles I was actually able to get my hands on, which was a White Lantern Sinestro and a Black Lantern Hal Jordan.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has their own reason for going to conventions, and each convention kind of has its own little, I would say, niche.
Its own atmosphere, yeah, because I know in Portland here, the first Comic-Con I went to, it was the first thing I did when I was single again, was Rose City Comic-Con in 2016, where, the highlight of that day was actually getting to ask Stan Lee a question, which I'm going to talk to till I die. But what I loved about Rose City was just the creative, there was a creative vibe there. There was just so much going on. You had video games. It was the first time I played Dungeons and Dragons. Seeing, people like Stan Lee, seeing some of the other celebrities, seeing Brian Bendis was cool, even though I didn't realize where his line started at one point, and unintentionally I cut in front of people, which was a big no-no. One of the other ones I went to, I did go to Wizard World here in 2017, but I did not care for how they had their security set up. Because the way they had it, the main convention hall where Artist Alley was, where Kato Kaelin of all people was, anytime, I don't get it, but anytime you left that main hall to go to a panel and then wanted to come back to the main hall, you had to have your bag searched again. Whereas with Rose City Comic-Con, they made it to where before you entered the building, your bag was searched, and if everything was acceptable at that point, then you could get in and did not have to worry about waiting for a long line to go back to buy a $20 pretzel.
Now, Portland has a different convention center. It actually has a very, very large convention center, and they usually have multiple conventions going on at the same time. So you might, I went from the Wizard World Comic-Con into the Chocolate Lovers Chocolate Festival when I got, burnt out.
Did you see more there?
No. But Valerie, what was your first convention? Was it San Diego?
It was actually 2004 Dallas Comic Con.
Nice.
Because I forgot to mention this with my origin story. 30 Days of Night was my first big draw.
Nice.
And we got to meet Steve Niles and Thomas Jane. And then I got into Criminal Macabre, which is a wonderful comic.
What other conventions have you been to?
a couple Dallas fan days. We met Stephen Amell from Arrow there. Their setup it's a lot more personable than San Diego Comic-Con, because at Comic-Con in San Diego, you don't really get to meet anybody just simply because there's so many people.
Yeah.
But the smaller conventions, it's a lot easier to meet the celebrities and stuff like that, and the artists.
Yeah, that's another thing with Wizard World. When I went there, they had the celebrities that were signing autographs, like essentially in the middle of the hall with no lines.
No, you just kind of walked up.
And you walked up, which on the one hand is nice, but on the other hand made it difficult because your first instinct is, oh, there's Lou Ferrigno. You take out your camera and try and take a shot because
and then you're like, hey, asshole, there's 30 people waiting.
There's that, and then you have the security giving you dirty looks, even though the setup, the way they had it, invited those types of problems. But anyway, enough of me complaining about that. Because I got a lot I can complain about, but you don't listen for that.
Yeah.
So what we'll do now, we'll go through some of the announcements that have come out of San Diego Comic-Con, whether it be some TV shows, movies, or comics. And Valerie, if you were there too, we can talk about other things that caught your eye too. I know my friend Lisa Chilton in California wanted to bring up a topic, and I think we'll start off with that here about one big no-no at Comic-Cons, and that's guys with grabby hands.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
What?
What are your thoughts on that?
It's actually not just guys. But yeah, I saw quite a few cosplayers getting their asses grabbed, getting their chests grabbed, and there were girls doing it to guys too.
Oh boy.
What? I don't get it. I mean, there should never be a call for that to begin with, much less, I don't see how people think that, oh, she's dressed in black leather like Catwoman, that gives me permission to grab her ass. I don't get people who think that way.
Okay.
Oh, neither do I.
So, I mean, first of all, I feel like we should preface this a little bit with, one of the biggest attractions to Comic-Con. Cosplay. Dressing up as your favorite character, dressing up as your favorite superhero, TV show, all these mishmash things. And, I mean, people make a living off of it. There's TV shows about it. It's very, very popular. You walk in as a fan and you end up becoming an attraction of the event.
Right.
I always enjoy it. I always love seeing people. I always love talking to people about how they go about the process of making the costumes, doing all the work. I have cousins who do it with a very fiery passion. We have a few coworkers that do that as well.
Yeah, one coworker, Shelby. I know for a fact if somebody tried that with her, she'd probably cut it. So I'm like the guy who's like, great costume, let me take a picture. I don't want to pose with you, I just like seeing your work. Yep.
I'm not going to touch you. I don't touch people. I would just assume by default it's don't touch.
You would think. I mean, the first Rose City Comic-Con I went to, for whatever reason, I just saw a whole bunch of Black Widows there, and it was great. But that didn't. Some people just suck. I mean, it's great when people are such a fan that they put money into looking like their favorite character. It's great when somebody does something simple like I did, and having a tattoo put on of one of your favorite characters. When you honor your character, that should be praised. That should be rewarded, not with a pinch of the ass, but with, again, what Sterling said, good job, yeah.
And that's if they want a high five. Some people don't like high fives.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
No, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
If you were to cosplay as a character, if you went to a convention, who would it be?
Me? The easiest one would be Elwood Blues. I just grow the soul patch, get some Ray-Bans, get a black suit, and I'm good.
There you go.
What about you, Valerie?
Probably one of the turtles.
I'm assuming Ninja Turtles?
Yes, not just a random turtle.
Okay. I mean, there's some pretty great turtles. There was like the turtle from Finding Nemo, the sea turtle. Crush? Dude. I would totally go as Mr. Fantastic. It's probably like the simplest costume. Wear a onesie. If you want to go with like the more recent Reed Richards, grow a beard. Do like the side of your hair gray.
Yeah.
And then have a pipe.
Sure.
Have a pipe.
I mean, it is Portland, so we can have pipes here. But, all right.
That or like the Jolly Green Giant, I don't know.
Yeah. Now, the great thing about Comic-Con, especially San Diego, is that they do have announcements of new projects that come along. Now, unlike other episodes, like the recent Steve Ditko episode we did that are time-sensitive that we want to get out right away, these announcements are stuff that's going on down the line. That's why, this episode is going to be released a little bit after we record it here. So, one of the movies that had a trailer that debuted at Comic-Con was Glass, the third installment in the Unbreakable trilogy from M. Night Shyamalan. What were your thoughts about that? Have you seen it, Valerie?
I'll be perfectly honest with you. I haven't seen it. I don't like M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
Unbreakable cost me $300 to see, and I've just never lived it down.
What?
How did it cost you that much?
My best friend at the time lived in Iowa, and I flew up for the weekend so we could go see it, and it was a terrible movie.
Oh, okay. Oh, boy. I was like, did you accidentally buy the entire theater or something?
What? No.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly with me, I've not seen too many M. Night Shyamalan films. I think his reputation as of late is a little unfair. I mean, he hasn't put out his best work in recent years, but I don't think he's necessarily, and I'm not talking about The Last Airbender, that was pretty bad, and the Will Smith one was pretty bad. But the mid-2000s one, like Signs, was pretty good.
Which Will Smith one did he do?
The one with his kid. It wasn't After Earth?
Oh, yeah. Where they're like, we're on the most dangerous planet in the world, Earth.
Yeah, because what turned me off wasn't the movie itself. It was the publicity they did with it, where Will Smith and I think his son was 10 years old at the time, were talking, they were talking about math or something. I forgot the specific thing, but they were just trying to turn it into talking about math and life philosophy, and I don't want to hear life philosophy from the guy who wrote Parents Just Don't Understand,
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. I have had a very bad taste in my mouth in regards to M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong.
It's funny. I'm not comfortable saying that.
Shamalama Ding Dong?
Yeah, okay, I mean, it's coming from a bad spot. I mean, if you think about it deep down, I mean, it's like Apu.
Okay. I don't like him. I mean, you can only see like The Sixth Sense twice. It's like, all right, I saw it. I figured something out. I saw it again. All right, I don't need to see it again. And like I will say, like, that was a very big twist. Not a lot of people saw that coming. But The Village, I know. The Village is a direct ripoff of a book called Running Out of Time. And I noticed after that a lot of his work is very derivative of other things.
Twilight Zone, most importantly. I mean, with everything having to have a twist ending, and it's great when a twist ending works, but they don't. You shouldn't have that as your only method of storytelling.
No,
exactly. if you can't have that massive, mind blowing Bruce Willis is really dead type of moment, then seriously don't.
But, like, I mean, I loved Unbreakable, and then I found out it was a M. Night Shyamalan movie. I did not see Split. Is that what it was called?
Yep, that was part 2.
I heard really great things. It looked really weird. I just was not really interested in it. And then, like, the fact that they're going to be doing a Glass film, I might see it. I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean... And
he just shit all over the Avatar movie series, and he's trying to do another one. Like,
he's like Joe Schumacher in the late 90s. I can make it right, I swear.
Yeah. The thing is like, if you don't want something to happen, don't see his other movies. You know what I mean? So that's just like my whole thing. I don't want him to touch Avatar again, so I won't see any of his movies.
Yeah.
I didn't know he did Avatar.
The Last Airbender, like live action
the movie
film?
starring a bunch of white people as Asian people.
Oh my god.
Culturally tone deaf, yeah. All right. What you mentioned some comics that came out.
Man. I mean, like, do you want like the redacted, like broken down list of comics?
Well, I mean, we'll go around in circles. So.
Okay, so they've announced a few things. The big things that are going to be really coming around are in like Batman. Batman Metal has been like pretty crazy if you've been following it at all. I don't want to give any spoilers, but there's a lot of development and work there. A lot of books are getting new writers and things like that. George Takei is also coming out with a graphic novel based around his time in an internment camp.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's called They Called Us Enemy. It looks really, really great. If you aren't familiar with George Takei's work in the past, I mean, there's a lot going on, but he also has a musical based around his time in the military and the internment camps as well, which is really cool. Yeah, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it's nice to see him kind of branch out now and do some more stuff apart from just bad-mouthing William Shatner.
Yeah.
You know, and he's, you know, one of those actors that came around at the wrong time, I guess, which...
I would say his career peaked, and he fell into this, like, very, very, like... focused role, and I feel like him as an actor had to really fight for his position in like the Hollywood world.
True, and you know that's even today. You know, minorities, women, people of color, whatnot, they still have that struggle. But you know, he's lucky Star Trek came around because if that's the only thing he's going to be known for, he kicked the door down for a lot of Asian representation in film and television today, which cannot be denied, no matter if you find him annoying at times like I do or not.
Yeah. Well, and then he's taken a lot of his clout and he has worked towards finding a voice for the Asian American community with things like this, because I don't care who you are or where you're from, it is just powerful.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's found a way to focus his creative talents, and he's just been doing a lot of great stuff, even that is like his age. And he's made cameos and appearances and all kinds of shows and all this stuff, but he makes very good work.
Yep.
Which is great.
Was there anything that debuted at Comic-Con that caught your eye, Valerie?
The Spider-Gwen turning into Ghost Spider.
Yeah! I was going to talk about that, too.
Nice.
There's going to be some changes in the essential, like, character development, because... now that a lot of the characters like Spider-Gwen or Miles Morales have been kind of absorbed into the main Marvel universe, they're trying to find ways where they all fit in, which has been really, really cool.
Yeah. I don't know if they released a new trailer, but what did you think about the Into the Spider-Verse trailer that came out a few weeks back, Valerie?
The one with Miles Morales?
Yeah.
It actually looks pretty good. The animation is really nice, but it's a different take on it, and I like that.
Oh, and they had a Superior Spider-Man spinoff in the past. There apparently is going to be a Superior Octopus run coming up, and I'm very excited.
Wow.
Oh, it's going to be great. There's also going to be a focus on Star Wars stories like Darth Maul, Darth Vader. There's one going to be called Vader's Castle, essentially talking about his home base. I forget the planet's name.
I think his castle was on Mustafar.
Yes.
With the volcano planet where Obi-Wan... I've got the high ground there. Shut up.
Uncanny X-Men is going to be making a return. The Vision is getting his own kind of like spin-off comic book, which is really, really cool. The Power Rangers, if you've seen their comic book, it's so goddamn fun. It's so much fun, and the art is amazing.
Yeah, now before we recorded here, Valerie mentioned liking the Power Rangers and having seen the original show back in Japan, so tell us a little bit about that.
It was essentially filmed in an amusement park. And having been to that amusement park, it was actually really funny to see like all the different stuff. But it was a lot hokier, especially when you didn't understand it, a lot like Dragon Ball. But the cast, I mean, it was interesting to see an all-Asian cast.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they did what they did with that show was similar to what they did with Spider-Man in the Spider-Man TV show in the 70s. Just, yeah, I mean, it was, I don't even know if it was necessarily an official Spider-Man show based in Japan, but they had all these exterior shots of a guy in a spider suit jumping around, and then they refilmed scenes with the character unmasked with American counterparts. But speaking of Japanese culture and new stuff coming out, did you catch the trailer for Godzilla, King of the Monsters?
Oh my God!
I did.
What'd you think?
That looks awesome.
Yeah, now the one critique I have of the trailer is that it did seem kind of muddled. I couldn't tell the monsters apart.
Really?
To me, it just seemed...
I'll agree with that.
I think they only showcased two.
I mean, I only saw really Godzilla at the end when he's spitting out the light. I thought I heard
Mothra.
Okay, I didn't. I thought I saw Rodan, but it's honestly, admittedly, been a while since I've seen any of the Godzilla films. Thanks to that atrocious Roland Emmerich film in the late '90s that I saw that had Matthew Broderick in it, of all people. Because when you think of Godzilla and action movies, let's get Matthew Broderick on the phone, right?
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off, starring Godzilla.
Yeah.
It looked like they were trying, again, to build hype, because you're seeing characters that are currently popular, like the gal from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of the returning cast from the original Godzilla film is making any sort of debut, and I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with King Kong, but Kong from Skull Island, they had like a lead into the next Godzilla film at the end of the credits.
Right.
And I don't think any of those characters are going to be in it as well, but I'm really excited. I just love the premise and I love the idea.
Well, the thing with the first one is you could have totally taken out the people and it would have made no difference in the movie whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, which with a monster film, yeah, I mean, for the most part, you do pay to see the monster, but in '98 when they had the Godzilla remake from Roland Emmerich, I mean, we saw the monster, but the people that were in that movie just made it so horrendously awful to watch that I was turned away. And it was 2.5 hours long. I mean, I remember
I don't remember that.
Oh, it pissed me off because it seemed like everything was coming near an end. Everybody's like celebrating. They're in front of Madison Square Garden, and then all of a sudden, the monster comes back, and you go on for another half hour, and you're like, when will it end?
Yeah, you can't have something that's more of like a show of like CGI spectacular. And it's just silly to drag it out that long.
There has to be some basic underpinning of a story. You gotta have some characters that you care for, even if it's a very simple story of somebody trying to survive a monster attack. You still want to care for them. Otherwise you'll end up like the Star Wars prequels, where everything looks fancy and nice and explosions are going everywhere, but you don't care about anybody.
Yeah. Did anybody see Shin Godzilla? It was the team who made Neo Genesis Evangelion. They were given essentially rights to a Godzilla film, and it actually won a few awards, which was really, really great, because you see like the change in like Godzilla, like how it like grew and developed and became Godzilla. It was really cool. But you have films like Pacific Rim. I love like kaiju films and kaiju like shows and movies. If you give me like giant robots and giant monsters, you're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, Pacific Rim was awesome, just on the grounds that it was big monsters and big robots.
Yeah, and I only saw bits and pieces of the first Pacific Rim. I didn't see the sequel with John Boyega.
Yeah.
Not my cup of tea.
Wow, man. IMAX 3D surround sound, it knocks your socks off.
I'll take your word for it.
All right.
Another movie that had a trailer come out. Shazam! What'd you think of that one, Valerie?
I have a strong distaste for Zachary Levi, so I haven't really seen the whole thing. I saw him doing like a dance-off, and that was about it.
Shazam!
It's like me with my love of Will Ferrell. I'm familiar with the character, but I'm not too familiar with the story overall. It does look a little jokey for my taste, but with The Rock signed on already to be Black Adam, which is Shazam, Captain Marvel's official nemesis, it could be pretty good. And, tying into another DC movie that came out, what'd you think of the Aquaman trailer?
The Aquaman trailer looks really awesome. But back on Shazam, The Rock is joining it, or is he part of it?
He's the main villain, Black Adam.
Yeah, and I know they also have a Black Adam film in the works. He's going to be a part of it somehow. I have not seen any confirmation that he's necessarily in this film.
Gotcha.
But his involvement in Shazam has been out there. It has been out there for a bit, and he's the hardest working guy in showbiz right now.
Yeah.
So
yes, he's in everything.
I'm very excited about Shazam in the sense that I feel like it's staying true to the spirit of the character. Happy-go-lucky kid who's kind of got like a weird background, orphaned, and I feel like most of DC characters are orphans in some way or shape, but you're 12, 13 years old, and then you get the powers of like a magic Superman. It's amazing. And if you were a kid at the age of 13 and you got superpowers, what the hell would you do?
Oh, that's interesting to say that, because I did post an article on the Friends Talking Nerdy Facebook page that kind of detailed some of the history of Shazam, who was initially Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, Shazam, was in the 30s and 40s the most popular comic book character, but DC, since Superman came first, sued. And Fawcett Comics, the company that was publishing the Captain Marvel stories, went out of business. So they got the trademark for those stories, but not the copyright, or it could be either or there. But the reason I say that is Marvel in the 60s stepped in and grabbed either the copyright or the trademark. I believe they got the copyright to publish their own Captain Marvel stories, and which means that no matter what, as long as they keep on publishing a Captain Marvel story of some sort, they get to keep that, and DC will have to call Captain Marvel Shazam.
That's why they changed Miss Marvel's name to Captain Marvel.
Because Marvel was already gone. They needed somebody to take that place. Thankfully that gave us Kamala Khan. But speaking of Kamala Khan, what did you think of the news, Valerie, of G. Willow Wilson doing Wonder Woman?
Excited. Oh, no, I actually really liked the news. It was interesting, but it doesn't overtake the project.
Yeah. I'm assuming you've seen her work on Miss Marvel. What do you think of Willow?
That I haven't seen.
You've not read the Miss Marvel comics?
No.
Oh, you're missing out. Do you have the Marvel Unlimited app?
Yes.
Download it now. Go. I mean, those are some of the best comics out there. I mean, Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, along with Miles Morales, are two of the greatest characters that Marvel's come out with in the past 20 years.
I'll have to look at that.
Yep.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
It's a bold statement, but I agree.
Yep. I mean, if you go past 20 years, within 25, then Deadpool comes into account, then he would top the list. But true. I mean, it's true. Yeah. But within 20 years, yeah. Speaking of Deadpool, did you get a chance to see, or was it too packed for that special showing of the extended version of Deadpool 2?
Oh, what?
It was too packed. People were lined up for days. The line to actually get the tickets for the showing was 2.5 miles long.
Ooh. Wow.
And there were only 200 tickets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You gotta have multiple showings or something.
Well, essentially, it's a little teaser for the video coming out. But what did you think of Deadpool 2?
I loved it. It was just as kitschy as the first one, but without ruining the first one. But it was a good sequel.
Yeah, it had its own little voice, its own little spirit, but it was good.
Yeah,
I really liked it.
The only thing I didn't like was the kid. The kid was really annoying.
The kid.
Well, they didn't do a Jake Lloyd with him and put him in the entire film, so I will give that a pass, and that's not a knock on Jake Lloyd as well. I mean, I didn't like his performance as Anakin Skywalker, but not to the point of trying to put him into a mental facility, you know?
Jeez, man.
Which is sad, but my critique on Deadpool is nitpicking more than anything, but I do think it was a lot more meta, a lot more jokey than the first one, and it didn't have as solid a story. Again, that's a nitpick. It was still a great experience, but I think it wasn't as focused. I think Ryan Reynolds just wanted more of a chance to have a little bit of fun with that universe. And I think, too, that maybe because of, I think he realized the way the winds were going with Disney and Fox with what will now be the eventual takeover of Disney with the Fox IPs.
I really hope Deadpool is able to stay around or find a way to be incorporated into that universe.
Well, Disney has had a great track record of, it started with Pixar. Once they officially bought Pixar and they just were not distributing those movies, they let Pixar do their thing. They did not interfere. The only reason they've interfered in Star Wars is because, with each succeeding movie since The Force Awakens, interest and, most of all, profit has gone down. So at that point, you do got to step in. Now, I don't think it's as bad as some of the haters who think that, The Last Jedi somehow ruined their lives make it out to be. Right. But if people are generally not going to those movies, it does have to be addressed. What do you think of some of the nonsense with Star Wars fans?
I'll be honest, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. Pretty much the only movie I've seen is The Force Awakens. But there were a lot of interesting, just like Clone Wars is coming back.
Oh. Yeah.
That was actually really cool.
Yeah, they. I did not write that on the list, but thank you for bringing that up, because they are going to be releasing that on the new Disney app. Ta-da!
Yep.
Yeah, which once they get the Fox IPs and contracts with previous companies run out, just imagine a Disney app that's going to have Star Wars, that's going to have the Marvel movies, that's going to have The Simpsons, that's going to have Family Guy, that could have adult movies like Aliens, they could have Indiana Jones, they could return the 20th Century Fox fanfare to the Star Wars movies, which for me would be a big, big help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I would say, delightfully optimistic.
Well, and as far as Disney owning Fox, people don't realize they've always owned Miramax and all that stuff. So they have had adult movies on their plate for years.
Yeah.
I mean, from dusk till dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though it would be funny to be like Quentin Tarantino's Cinderella brought to you by Walt Disney.
That would be funny.
Oh my God.
And creepy if there would be feet involved somehow.
And with that, another episode of Friends Talking Nerdy is in the books. We thank you all for listening. This is Tim Jousma. Tune in again next week as we wrap up our discussion on all things San Diego Comic-Con this year. Again, we are focusing on some of the announcements of new content that is coming out. So we encourage you all to tune in and hear what we all have to say about some of the new movies and TV shows coming out. We also want to direct you to another podcast. Our very own Noel McIntosh had a chance to guest star on an episode of the Comic Book Club Live podcast, which is available on all the major outlets, iTunes, Google Play Music, stuff like that. You can also go to their website, comicbooklive.com, to hear Noel's comments. He had a chance to talk about the show, which was very cool to listen to. They talked a little bit about The Punisher as well, and took some questions from the audience. Highly recommended. Once I heard it, I subscribed myself, so I encourage everybody, if you're listening to our show, subscribe to their show. And again, join us next week as we wrap up our discussion on all things related to San Diego Comic-Con. Thank you for listening.
Are you lonesome tonight? Do you miss me tonight? Are you sorry we drifted apart? Does your memory stray to a bright summer day when I kissed you and called you sweetheart? Do the chairs in your parlor seem empty and bare? Do you gaze at your doorstep and picture me there? Is your heart filled with pain? Shall I call back again? Tell me, dear, are you lonesome tonight? You know, I wonder if you're lonesome tonight. I wonder a lot of things. Like, are you human? How do you live with yourself? Are you a reptile with a nice hairdo? You snaky tramp! You lied to me! When you told me you loved me, you never loved me! You said forever, remember that one? Oh, there's a joke, forever! Yeah, forever, honey! Yeah, what does forever mean to you? Till another guy comes into your life with more money and a better car? Oh, I'm sorry, we better break up! I'm not growing as a person. We need to get away from each other. Oh, that was a great idea. Yeah, let's break up, honey. Did you grow any? Are you any taller? I'll tell you what you learned. You learned how to break my heart. But I'd rather go on hearing your lies than to go on live without you. That's how sick I am. Well, I'm standing here. The stage is bare. Oh, I can't say it. You know what you did. You know what you did. You were wrong. Say it, you stupid, stubborn pig. I was wrong. Is your heart filled with pain? Shall I call back again? Tell me, dear, are you lonesome tonight? I hope you do.
Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy on iTunes, the Google Play Music Store, as well as Spotify. Remember to support Friends Talking Nerdy on Patreon. Goodbye, darling.